All right, I'm going to do this Oprah style. I'm making a grand entrance here. Good morning, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here, and I want you to know, in case you saw Johanna, Richard, and Stacy Stewart in the parking lot yesterday, they were actually doing a kind of a mystical dance to get the rain to go away. And Stacy, well done. You guys are amazing. So I'm so excited that you have a chance to spend another amazing day with us here at Nantucket by Design, but in a quintessential Nantucket day. I mean, it could not be more spectacular. So in all kidding aside, I do want to thank Johanna Richard, who's our interim executive director, and Stacy Stewart, who handles all things events. And if you've gone to an NHA event, you know how fabulous they are. And the rest of our amazing staff. I mean, lots of you have come up to me and said, great job, but it's them. It's definitely not me. And so I guess the first thing I should say is buongiorno, because we have a bit of an Italian theme this morning, and Pietro knows this. I'm half Italian, and that's the part that kind of comes forward. You see, I speak with my hands, and I hug a lot, and we have lots of pasta in my house. But I'm thrilled that Pietro Cicognani and Isabella Rossellini took the time to put together an incredible presentation this morning. And it's spot on for our theme of renewal. Pietro, as you'll see, worked with Isabella on really recreating and renewing the spirit of hospitality in two incredible properties with lots of history and lots of really beautiful historic fabric, and kept the integrity of the buildings, but made it modern, not in a jarring way, but in a truly welcoming, I would say in an Italian hospitable way. And even more so when you see it really truly is hospitality. But I was so excited that Pietro agreed to join us, because he really has a specialty in looking at the types of buildings that we all treasure here, our historic buildings, and thinking about how to make them modern in a really thoughtful way. And of course, he's going to be facilitated and hosted by our own amazing Chesie Breen, who's a member of the Nantucket by Design Committee and has made so many incredible contributions. So without further ado, I think we're going to start with a video. We have an incredible video for you. Shall I turn it over to you first? Do you want to say a few words? Okay. We're going to start with the video, and then we are going to have a fantastic conversation with Pietro. Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Isabella?
Sì, hi.
Ecco, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be with you with my voice. To support my friend Pietro. Have you showed them the little film we've made?
No, it's going to happen in a minute after this phone call.
Okay, so you can see what Pietro has created. But we've done other work together, but this is where I live now. I have, I'm not too far from Nantucket. I'm in Long Island in a little village called Bellport, Bellport and Brookhaven. And Pietro has helped me with this big plan. First to have, it was an abandoned farm and the land had been sold to a developer, but we saved the buildings of the main farm. And then a mile from my home, 30 acres came available a few years ago, and I bought it. And Pietro helped me develop that into a bed and breakfast that is opening tomorrow. We have the first client. We're totally panicked.
and there's a wonderful article on Wall Street Journal
yes.
on the bed and breakfast that just came out.
It just came out yesterday, so you will know more about it, and the film will show you. Yeah. But I will always asked why Pietro and I are such good friends, and there is a magic. You don't know why you become very good friends with one person and not with another one. But I think Pietro, that I think we have a lot of things in common. We have a background in common. We are Italian, but both our mothers were foreigner. You have a Russian mother. I have a Scandinavian mother, and we grew up speaking several languages quite well. I mean, like we speak English, we speak Italian, Spanish, French. So we travel and we have friends everywhere. But we do choose to stay in America because I think it's the country of opportunities. I mean, it sounds like a stereotype, but we both agreed that we couldn't have had the career we had if we'd stayed in Europe. Here, there really is much more opportunity and mobility. And it's not a question of money. It's just a question of culture that allows you to experiment, isn't it, Pietro?
No, absolutely.
To try things
Absolutely.
out.
Yeah.
And that's what we like. Both of us like.
Yeah.
And then being from Rome, we grew up in Rome. Pietro only understands that I love ruins, as you will see. I don't like things that are, I like things that are new too. But when I see something old that has a lot of history, and I try to create layers, and mine being just one of the many layers, I find it very poetic, and I think that's true. I think when I tried to work before I met Pietro, and I tried to work with other architects, they were. I thought they were always having a heavy hand in renovation too far, and Pietro was just perfect to keep the dilapidation that I like.
Very well said.
Do you think it's because we both grew up in Rome?
I
You
think
understand the poetry of ruins?
that has a lot to do with it. Yes, yes. And both results of personal upheavals within the families that we had, and historical upheaval in Rome.
Yes, I think so. When I see the layer of the history, it's where I feel home.
Yeah. Well, you should be here in Nantucket because you really feel history very much in this island. You would love it.
Absolutely. And I have now the farm, and I have turkeys. And every time I look at turkeys, I think of this history of America. Because turkeys, I tell you one little episode about turkeys that is very poetic. I have chickens and I have turkeys. My chickens, they have been domesticated, meaning the wild chicken have been captured and selected, generation after generation, the one that made more eggs. And so a chicken makes 250 eggs, more or less, per year. But it has been domesticated a long time ago, 800 years ago. The turkey, Thanksgiving turkey, has a shorter history. It's just when the European came to Nantucket and to the area where you are. And the Indians did not domesticate the animal. They lived in this Eden that was American then, and they didn't need to use agriculture or domestic animals. So they were hunter-gatherers. So the turkeys, they don't lay as many eggs because their history of domestication is like 500, 600 years. And so my turkeys maybe lay 20 eggs per year. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
When you think Nantucket, I think turkey, and I think this incredible news about the quantity of eggs that different animals make, because there is history in them, and that's what I like. I like that sense of history. It makes me wonder. It makes my brain goes in all direction and fantasies.
That's wonderful.
So see the film. I'm around next to the phone. So if there is any question or anything after the film and after talking to Pietro, I'm here to answer if I can.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for this introduction.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to be shooting in Boston, and so Nantucket was easier. But film schedule always change, and so now I'm coming in 10 days. So I apologize for not being there.
Okay. You're here in spirit.
Bye, Pietro.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to read you a book, the foreword of Pietro Cicognani's work on his architecture. Non abbiamo mai scopato. It's in Italian, and it means that Pietro and I never went to bed together. Everybody thinks that Pietro is my husband, or at least my boyfriend, or has been my boyfriend, and now we're very intimate. He is not. He's my friend and my architect. He did all this. Eccolo lì. Shy because he's very prudish. So this is the first project that Pietro and I did together. It was an abandoned farm. There were trees. It had been dilapidated. Pietro came and designed, first of all, the piazza. And there was a little cottage, and then the big barn that was about to collapse. I bought this barn, and you weren't intimidated by the fact that it was very old. You find 1,000 solutions.
The main barn became your sleeping place, and for the kids, we put a net up and a place where they would play. But then the little cottage became where you ate and where the kids slept, and then the new structure became the indoor pool and where you exercised.
The pool instead, in contrast with the barn, it is very zen.
If the outside looks similar to get you the idea of the village. And then I thought, why not do the inside completely differently than we did the barn or the cottage? And then we parged it, and it's all cement, monolithic cement, so that it's a real surprise. When you come from the outside, you open and you see something completely different.
And also you oriented the pool in a way that he gave me four corners.
It's a square pool. It's a square pool because you can swim against the jet of water, so you don't need a rectangular pool. And then by rotating at 45 degrees, you get much more room that is usable on all four corners. You wanted an efficient bathroom, so instead of doing a traditional bathroom where you put the fixtures all along the walls, we put a central plumbing column, covered in wood, obviously in planks. We rotated at 45 degrees, so we have more room. And then on each of the four sides, we put a different fixtures: a bidet, a sink, the toilet, and the tub.
And the tub, actually, we found it in the woods. And it's rusted tub, and you had it reglazed, and you gave it gold feet.
That's right, I forgot.
To be,
right. Right.
There's always something comical about what you do that I always find incredibly charming.
And the floor really looks great with copper. We soldered the joints so it would be waterproof, and then the copper with the solder, color of the solder goes very well with the old wood. So this will last a long time.
So I have to say that every time I come now, I've lived here for 20 years, I always loved it. I always say, oh, I'm home, and my home is so magical. So I owe it that to you.
Oh.
About, well, now it's 8 years ago, there was a piece of land, 30 acres, that came available. And I bought it to start a farm. And all my friends said, oh my God, Isabella is going gaga. But Pietro, that understood that I had a plan. 2 little houses came available that were just on the border of my farm. We decided a strong color of gray and red. I wanted to be like a color that was a landmark, yet you remember it, yet still married with the tradition of Long Island. Pietro, that's easy. But this is difficult. Gnani. The gna sound, you don't have it in English. Pietro Cicognani. We always started like we've never been back together. This is the first sweater from our sheep, done by Lida Morley, Malcolm Morley portrait of the herding dog Elsa. This is Jessie, who does a lot of children's book. This is my turkey. You'll see it outside. This is Hugo Guinness. So this room is the room with the art from Friends. This room, all the art is by David. That, 2 rhino making love. The biggest thing that I wanted, because we produce food, it was to have a very big kitchen.
I always had this dream of doing something in plywood, completely in plywood. And then I went with you. We chose the flitches of the Chilean apple, which is a very dangerous tree. And we created this kitchen all in plywood, which is like a cigar box, living inside a cigar box. And it's great to cook in it. And as you see from the images, it's very strong.
I didn't put a table. I wanted a place that occasionally we can put many chairs if there is a cooking lesson, or occasionally we can put a table and have a dinner for 20 people. I wanted very much the outside and the inside to be connected.
The garage, we made it into a dining room. The garage was freestanding, so we renovated the house and then we bridged it with a kitchen when there was nothing there before. So the image that you see of the kitchen is basically a bridge between two existing structures that we renovated. The farm dominates this house, and so the bed and breakfast is completely subservient to the farm.
Also, we created the landscaping. The farm is conceived with 3 circles. There is a first circle with vegetable that is fenced, and then we have a big deer fence and a second circle where we keep all the domestic animals. And then we also left a very big corridor of about 10 acres for the wildlife. We call it Mama Farm because, of course, I'm a mama, my daughter is running it now, but also all the animals are mostly female. We have a lot of chickens for the eggs, we have sheep. We don't have male because they are a little bit more aggressive. Bees, 90%, we have honey, so we have bees, but 90% of the bee population are female, only 10% are male. And then there's an incredible amount of mothers and babies that come every day. It has become an activity for the young children to discover this is the carrot, this is a salad, this is a chick. And so that's why it's Mama Farm.
That's right. And it's also witnessing a matriarchate, a strong matriarchate.
Yeah, that's true too.
Hot mic. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you to the Nantucket Historical Society. We are so thrilled to be here. Anything having to do with preservation is near and dear to my heart, and I know it is to Pietro's as well. So thank you very much, and thanks for coming out on this beautiful sunny day to hear us talk. We're here. I hope you enjoyed the short film that Pietro and Isabella made. I don't know if we could get those colors approved here in Nantucket. What do you all think? I'm not so sure, but we could try, right? Because they really are bold. And I loved what she said about establishing a landmark, which you all have done so beautifully here with the way you've preserved your architecture. Pietro has a new book out. That's what you're seeing here on the screen. It spans 40 years of his work. It's his first book. And so now I think we'll just dive in, Mary, to some of the images, please. So this is a house on Long Island. It was the former Juan Tripp estate. You've worked on it for how many years now?
Probably 30.
30 years over time, yeah. And it's been added on to. Tell us about this structure on the right that has the walkway.
Right. So it was
tell us about that.
A much smaller house, and then it grew and grew and grew over the 30 years. And we grew vertically and horizontally. The beauty is that it's very thin, so you don't have any corridors. So it's between Georgica Pond and the ocean. So from every room, you see both bodies of water. And then we added a bridge and an art studio. It was like a lighthouse. We love the idea of a lighthouse. And we added that as a beautiful art studio that sees 360 degrees.
It's beautiful. Next slide, please. Thank you. And the gardens here are spectacular. I mean, you can really tell that these gardens grew and were added to over time. I think also in the next slide, we see the pool. Tell us about are they ladies? Who are they?
Those ladies, well, they live in Florence and they're on the Neptune fountain, and it's called the Naiads. The Naiads were the goddess of the rivers. And somebody 50 years ago took exact cast of the bronze Ghirlandaio made the original in clay. The clay is from Impruneta, which is the river near Florence. The only clay that doesn't crack with frost. So that's why.
Why doesn't it crack? How is that possible?
It's so dense. The clay is so dense. Something in the clay.
Just no pores.
No air trapped in it.
Okay.
So it withstands very low temperatures. It's the only clay in the world that does that. So these two ladies came from Florence to East Hampton, and then we put them here in the pool.
Great. Next slide. And these are the interiors. And so you're saying really, essentially, the house is one room deep.
It's one room
So you get
deep.
light
It's
coming
one room
in.
deep.
That's my
That's right.
favorite kind of house, one room deep.
Yeah.
And these interiors have also been added to over the years. Different
Yes.
designers have worked on it. You've done some
Very
help
layered.
with. It's just so beautiful to walk. This is right
Yeah.
when you walk in, right? And
That's right. There's the entry
I think
hall.
you call that. What do you call that? A sociable? A sociable when it's one of those round settees like that. Well, this one's square though.
Everything is sociable. I don't know.
Yeah. And I love the stenciled floors. So pretty.
Oh, that's a library that we did upstairs. So you have the view of the ocean and the pond in between the books. So it's a wonderful.
Magical.
Magical. And the doors are hidden behind the books too. So they're secret doors.
Secret doors. And a
behind the
tray
book.
ceiling. Did you add the tray ceiling
Yeah,
to the original?
all that. Yeah. And it's quite special, the view. And,
she's a gardener.
oh yeah, this is the mudroom.
The potting shed.
Potting shed
And
mudroom.
tromboy on the wall. That's so pretty.
And a
And-
lean-to to get some natural light
Yes.
in it.
Yes. And you gave this house is owned by Catherine Rayner. It's no secret. We can say that. But you gave her a very special gift, right? I think we see it in the next
All
slide.
right. Yes. I think it's in the.
There you go. So tell us about that.
So we designed.
That's not your everyday hostess gift.
Yes, I thought.
There's an even bigger hostess gift coming though.
Yeah, why not treat garden tools the same way you treat silverware? So we got these garden tools from Austria, which are made with copper, so that you don't have the iron that bothers the earth.
Yes.
So the rust that can spoil the earth. So they're very special tools. And then we designed the walnut case and the padding and treated them like those
So
picnic
pretty.
baskets.
Like a
And,
picnic basket. Like
and
an
it's
old-fashioned
just for the
picnic
garden.
basket.
Yeah.
Oh, so here we see in more detail that structure that was added on. And
Yes.
you stayed here during COVID, didn't you?
Yeah.
This was
became my office headquarters during COVID, which was not bad. I wish
because
the
you were
lockdown.
working on something very special. There was
I
a
wish the
special
lockdown would
project.
have lasted longer, actually.
Well, I think also you cooked up something special during that period of COVID.
that's
I think we're going to see
very
it in the
true.
next slide.
That's very true. So what can we do? What can we do? And the next slide. Oh, this is the interior of the art studio.
And it reminds me, I love that this propensity you have for these sort of paneled spaces, like the plywood kitchen that you did for Isabella.
Yeah,
And we're going to see that again later. You revert to that technique a lot. It's
That's
quite
right.
beautiful, just like your garden box. It's just, you
Yeah.
feel cocooned inside of it.
yes, and this is fur and untreated and unsealed. So just raw fur, which ages beautifully with the sun.
You always have such an interesting use of materials. I always, when I'm trying to describe your architecture, it's neither classical nor modern. It's much more fluid. It's never cliche. You really always sort of expand through your own curiosity and your zest for life. Growing up in Rome, I mean, you've often talked about how this all scale and proportion just came to you from visiting churches and cathedrals and chapels and all of that just
I
through
think you learn
osmosis.
from early on when you live in a place like that things are never fixed or crystallized. They can always change. Things can be added,
Right.
subtracted, and make something else out of it. So I think that's the most important lesson, rather than a specific stylistic direction.
Next slide. Oh, so this is the other end. That's the sleeping quarters.
That's leading to the art studio. That's also all in fur, like a boat. We wanted to create almost like the feeling. You have water on both sides, like you suspend it, but you're in a nautical type of atmosphere.
Sure. Next. So this is the actual boathouse. Was this original?
This was one trip's boathouse.
Right.
So there was a sand floor with sand, and there was just for canoes and little
that they
sailing
take out on
boats.
Georgia Pond.
That's right.
Beautiful.
That's right. So we
Beautiful.
renovated that, and that became a guest house.
It's very charming. Next.
And
That's
I mean,
inside the.
in the
boathouse?
sense, just like Nantucket, you keep the outside pure
Mhm.
and slightly anonymous, and then the surprise can be inside, and the tension between the outside and the inside can be what makes the place. And this is Scandinavian inspired.
I was
This
going to
interior,
say, yes.
like a little folly, Scandinavian folly.
Right. But it's simple in nature, but it's also quite layered and intricate all at once.
Yes, very layered. This one, yeah, and
Next.
and
So you wrote in your foreword that it's very important that you draw a lot, and it's often something
Yeah.
you give people as a house gift or a special
Yeah.
gift when you want to do something meaningful. But you
Yes.
wrote, and I found this so interesting, that it's very important to keep the brain connected to the hand,
yeah.
and drawing enables you to do that.
Yes, I think drawing, and also when you do scale models, do real scale models with balsa wood and not just virtual one with a computer. I think it's very important for the brain, yeah, and you, because you think of things while you're doing it,
Right.
And here, for instance, was a present for Mrs. Rayner, and then I was thinking, let's just have fun. Let's have these motifs that we both relate to from Rome, and then I put her Pekingese being kind of strangled by the dolphins as part of the.
I see
as
her
part of
little
the
Pekingese.
present.
Do you all see? Do you see what he's
said-
talking about?
I hope she doesn't get offended, but I thought it was too tempting.
Now we know how you really feel about the Pekingese.
Yeah, exactly.
Next slide, Mary. Thanks. So you love a grotto. I think that's the
I love-
Roman
yeah,
in you.
and
You
we're
love
working-
a grotto. This is
yeah.
another project that you're doing.
This we're
sort of
working on right
nearby.
now, which is a grotto with a fountain in the middle of a pool. And this was the original drawing with the dolphins was then incorporated in this project, which is this is a rendering. It's in East Hampton also.
And if you're going to have a pool, why not have a grotto, right? I mean, it's sort of
And,
one goes with
yeah,
the other.
and then is you'll see in the
Quite
next
pretty.
slide is.
Yeah, so
So
tell
this
us
is the
about these are
terracotta from
remarkable.
Impruneta. We created our own little Neptune fountain. It's a mixture, actually borrowing from different fountains in Rome. We created this folly.
So he spouts water, obviously,
Yeah,
or he will spout.
he
water.
will.
Right. Right.
There'll be a lot of water jets coming from this fountain in the middle of the pool.
It's gonna be
I mean,
quite a
you
pool
can,
party.
you can still swim, but you have to be mindful of not banging you in the fountain. And then we created a grotto underneath it, so you could swim underwater under the fountain
A
and come out.
Poseidon adventure.
Yeah, and then I said to the client at the inauguration, we must have synchronized swimmers,
We must.
the
We
ladies
must.
around
We
the
must.
fountain for the inauguration.
Absolutely. Next. So this is part of the
So you see the inspiration. There was
installation.
the travertine boat, inspired by Spanish, by the Piazza di Spagna, Barcaccia. So we mixed that fountain with the Barberini fountain. We put two fountains together, and we put travertine with terracotta, which actually, during the Renaissance, there was a lot of combination of terracotta with travertine.
Well, again, your commitment to interesting materials and
Yeah.
mixing them and having a foil
Yeah.
between them.
And the play between them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is when the fountain arrives.
Next.
And this is the tufa being, the base of it being made around the steel structure. And this will constitute these arches that you can swim under.
So that will swim under there.
That's right. And the tufa is a very good material. Etruscan, all of Etruria, all of the Etruscan work was built with tufa. Tufa is a stone that is very soft when you start, and it gets harder and harder and harder with time. And very appropriate for this use, also underwater.
Interesting.
And
Oh,
then
is that tile work? What is that?
yeah, so I just finished my apartment in Rome, and I found this mosaicist downstairs with one of the few artisans still left. And I said, we want to make a frieze, like a dolphin, like a Pompeian type of motif. And she said, sure. So these are handmade mosaics, dolphins, Roman inspired, that will running at the waterline
Those
all
are
around the
just
pool.
beautiful. You really are committed. You seek out artisans all over the world. I think
Yes,
it's one of the things that really sets your work
that's
apart. It's not
absolutely
just
true.
a structure. There's real artisanry that goes into every little
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah, I believe in that collaboration very strongly, and that's why I was amazed here when you showed me yesterday how polished the paint is in the houses, and that maybe
we were walking around all day yesterday looking at the architecture and trying to absorb different things. And I had noticed last summer when I was here that the fronts of the houses are often clapboard and the sides are shingled, but the clapboarding is painted almost in what you would paint a boat with, right? It's very highly glossed. And we found this one that had been beautifully sanded. You could probably put your makeup on it. You know, it was just so beautiful.
very, very
So
stunning.
we learned a lot. We
Very
got to learn a
stunning.
lot yesterday. Next. So this is something that came. You tell what it is.
So during COVID, what can we do? So we said,
What can we do to pass the time?
I'm going to design a chicken coop, and I took the inspiration in the Chinese pavilion in Potsdam in Germany, which is very Chinese, and it's basically 4 half ellipses touching each other, and with a complex roof, and then with a play of different shingles. And I thought, let's just do that. There's a little pavilion, and for the chicken.
These are very, very lucky chickens.
And
we might need to rethink the chickens.
I realized
in this scenario.
this was just
With
the
all due
beginning.
respect.
And then, so we built it indoor in a big hangar, protected by the weather during the winter, and then we put it outside in the garden.
So it's there now.
It's there now, yeah.
Next.
It's there now. I mean, these are the architectural drawings for it. And then, so then this is what happened. Then Mr. Renner said, this is just too beautiful for the chicken. I'm going to use it as a reading room. And so she evicted the chicken, and that was really pretty traumatized for them. And then after a few months, she said, I feel too guilty. I just can't do that. They have to come back. It was made for them. So now they're back. And the trees, she bought the trees that were already pruned in a way that the chicken can go up and on the branches and stay up from the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
They just
on purpose for them.
Walk up there.
And then in Latin, I just did an inscription in Latin on the frieze that is being applied right now. And the interior is going to be quite special. It's going to be blue stucco, curved walls with a frieze made of little pine cones, very rural, with branches that cross the blue stucco where they can. It's going to be, and the floor black and white checkerboard. It's going to be a little ballroom for the chicken.
It's like it's not a coop, it's a shrine.
Then when I went to a friend in Connecticut, Bunny Williams' place, and she has an incredible chicken coop.
She does.
So that made me think a lot, and that the new status is not a Bentley or Rolls Royce, is the chicken coop and the exotic chicken that you're going to buy.
Right,
because they are so elegant, these chickens. It's like going to the couturier for a new dress.
Like little jewels.
Yeah.
They're so beautiful.
And so this is the new status symbol.
You've really arrived if you had a chicken coop. You know, you can just know that you're in good shape if you've got a chicken coop. Thank you. That's fine. So
that's the chicken.
Oh, there's the little chicken.
She came back. She came back and is happy there.
Cute. Next. So speaking of eggs, this is a private chapel, and it's shaped like an egg.
That's right.
Tell us how you achieved the ceiling, the floor.
Well, from the chicken to the egg, like Isabella was saying.
Which came first?
So they wanted a chapel, and I thought, let's do something spiritual independently of what religion it is. And I thought, why not create an egg and then put 2 planes, the ceiling and the floor, and they just don't touch the walls, and you have all the lighting coming from above and from below, and then the stucco lustro, which is polished with wax wall. So it's very spiritual because you don't have any reference point. You go in here and you feel like in an egg, but you're completely zen.
Yeah,
you're floating. You're absolutely floating.
I mean, that's just remarkable to me.
So I love to do things like that. I mean, because classical architecture is not just about style; it's also about proportions and what you do with a space and how you feel in a space. And in a sense, this is very classical. When you feel inside of here, and it makes you feel good also.
It's very
a very good
transportive.
feeling.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just beautiful. Next. So
And
again,
Then the
back-
love of ruin
yeah,
that,
we,
that Isabella.
we love a pool. A pool with ruins is
That's
even better.
also in Long Island, and there was some existing ruins made in 1910 in concrete that had deteriorated, and we played with them. We put a big pool inside of these ruins, and we played with the ruins and put awnings to be able to use the pool.
So this was your first commission when you started your firm,
Yes,
right?
this was the first commission.
Owned
That's
by
right.
Jane and Jan Winter at the time.
That's right. It was
And
for
you were
Jan and Jane
just
Winter.
fresh out of Columbia Architecture
exactly.
School, and this was
Exactly.
you lost their house key or something.
Yes, 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 yes. That's a whole anecdote that is told in the book. That's right.
It's
Um,
just beautiful. I think there's a couple more slides of this too. Yeah, so this is the other
Yeah,
side.
so again, these terracotta tiles are from Impruneta, so they won't crack with the frost. And we played with the terracotta, with the blue mosaics. Here, the blue mosaic in the pool, the concrete ruin, and the overgrown nature of this place. And
Just beautiful. Okay, so now we're down in Chadsford, Pennsylvania, and this is referred to as a bank barn. Explain to us what a bank barn is.
bank barn, with also Isabella was a bank barn, is a barn that you build on a slope.
Into the
So that the bottom part comes from one side and the top part from the other, and you have light on the lower floor and the upper floor. That you don't have a basement because
Right.
you're using the slope to your advantage.
and you always, would you say, is it fair to say that one of the first things you consider before designing is the topography, where this place is, what the
Yes.
land looks like around
did-
it, how the house is going to
Yeah.
interact with the land?
I studied very deeply the Etruscan urbanism,
Yeah.
the city of the dead and the city of the living, and I realized how much they adapted to topography. It was always delicate, the intervention. I mean, now, of course, all the city of the living, they're all in wood, so they're all gone, and only the city of the dead are remaining. But you really learn from how they position with the sun, and and the topography and the relationship between the parts. So I learned a lot from that, and
Interesting.
I'm trying to use it.
So I think we're going to go inside here now. Yes. Okay. So here you did something again. I just fixated on the materials that you use, but you consulted with a sound engineer to design the ceiling.
Yeah.
And what did you achieve?
Well, here is a triple height space, so the acoustic were going to be very brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought of the slats on the ceiling to always leave them apart and have joints, so the sound keeps going up and gets absorbed above the ceiling.
So there's no echo. Or
So there's
anything
no
like
echo.
that,
It's very, very livable. You can scream and it's fine. And it changes the nature of the place, the acoustic, as you know.
It's
So
beautiful.
the-
So here we've gone downstairs.
here we used old mirrors on the wall. We combined
Mhm.
old mirrors with wood, and the existing stone was an existing stone barn. So again, to recapture something that was there and transform it into something else.
It's just beautiful.
Oh,
Now,
and the
are we in
silo.
the silo now? This is the
We're
silo.
in the silo. We're in the silo. What an opportunity to do the main stair in the silo, and love doing that. So
So
it's-
this stair accesses the 3 floors
that's
in the
right,
house?
all from the bottom to the top. Yeah, and we put also a glass
Light.
skylight that
Mhm.
wasn't there to get
Mm-hmm.
some natural light in there.
And the silo was original to the barn.
The silo was original to
Right.
the barn.
It's just, what a photograph.
That's a piece that we added to the stone barn because the
Mhm.
program was larger than the building that was there. So again, we tried to be very sensitive to what was there, using this kind of material
Just
and
beautiful.
and
And the attention to the
proportions.
outdoor spaces too.
Yeah,
The
that's
inside and the outside, which is so important, when you
very
use
much
the
so,
house.
very much
Next.
so, very much.
Oh,
This also
this passageway is so pretty.
it's going from the garage to the barn. Love the idea of all these layers between nature and habitation. So it's not just a wall, but you build
Yeah.
all these
And this is right at home in
Change.
rural Pennsylvania, but completely unexpected at the same time,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
that's what I love about your work. It's there is that, as Isabella said, there's always just this little hidden humor almost, you know.
Sometimes.
So now we're on the North Shore of Long Island. This is the cover of the book, actually, and this is sort of more of what would you describe this as French?
Yeah, inspired.
Mm-hmm.
But it's from zero. We built it from the ground up, and it was a pool house. It's a pool house / guest house in a big property, in a large property.
And I love that slate roof. There's like really big slabs of slate.
And we really tried to make it look like it was always there. So
Right.
the stone wall with dry joints, very carefully built, so it
Very
doesn't look like a new wall.
Mhm.
And the same with the slate, graduated dimension on the slate coming down.
Beautiful.
That's a view from the other side of the pool house. From the
Right. So
short
on
side.
the right, we're looking out to the pool, but this is how you approach
That's
if
right.
if you're guesting there. Yeah.
And something actually that I learned from the south, the doors are actually triple hung windows.
Oh.
So instead of opening a door, you push it up and it goes into a cavity in the
Oh.
wall, and you have a complete opening with no doors. And
Beautiful.
so you push them. It's triple hung, and you just push them up.
Up it goes. Nice. This is the same house, but this is from the main house to the where
That's
are
the
we?
yes, the downstairs of the main house here, just to show. There was a grotty basement, and we're completely redid it. We excavated deeper and did a whole whole place that they can use.
These clients are from Virginia, and this whole estate is very
Right.
Jeffersonian
That's
in its
true.
approach. We're going to see a little bit more.
That's quite
too.
true. Quite true. Yeah.
So this is on this property. And
Yeah.
this is quite a folly.
So the previous owner, the wife had told the husband told the wife, "Would you like a manet or would you like a pond?" And she said, "I like a pond." So they built this big pond that we inherited with my clients, with 2 little islands on the pond.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm talking about maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, before China is what China is today. So I hired a labor lawyer and an immigration lawyer, and we got a group of Chinese people, the same one that did the Metropolitan Museum, the Chinese
Oh, you're
house,
right.
and also in the Staten Island Botanical Garden, they did an incredible Chinese house there as well.
Incredible.
We contacted them, so they built this pavilion.
No nails, no glue. It's all
It's all
jointed.
back connected, the same way you would have built it 500 years
Yeah,
ago.
It's just remarkable.
And they transported it, and the whole little island, they did it with river pebbles in a mosaic pattern.
Oh, on the floor.
And the organization, I mean, I can't believe I managed to convince these clients, because they didn't speak English. They would only eat Chinese food. So we had to put them in a hotel and would get them Chinese food with 10 people every day for 2.5 months. And, like babysit them and to do this. And of course, they came from China 25 years ago, so they all escaped. One to the dentist, one to the doctor, because they couldn't believe it. They could have access to a doctor.
That's incredible.
So it was really fun.
But this will last for generations, and that's
Yeah,
what's so important
that's
about
right.
creating something of this nature that's built so well.
Yeah,
Is it will remain for generations to
it
come.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or go to a museum.
Oh, that's right. But in Newport, I was inspired because I remember seeing in Newport the Chinese pavilion
Oh yeah.
there.
Yes.
That said, why not do it here too?
Right. Next slide. Okay, so we're back in Chadsford, Pennsylvania, and back to the sort of the idea of the topography. You opted for a very low slung roof here, and this is sort of more of an austere. The house
Yeah.
that we saw, the bank barn, and this, it's 2 brothers, so they couldn't be
That's
more
right.
different, right? But
That's right.
But they each got something entirely unique.
Yeah. And
So tell us about why you opted for that low slung roof. And I love all the walled rooms that you've created to give the house a little bit more
Yes,
symmetry.
I love the idea either of compound like Isabella with different buildings,
Mm-hmm.
or the idea of a courtyard. Always
Right.
the idea of when you can, to do a courtyard to protect yourself from nature. And they go to Capri every year. They said we would like some of the character of the houses that we see in Capri. So that became true of the stucco and of the type of proportions. You'll see it better in the next slide, actually. How you adapt to the land. I mean, Capri is very, very steep.
Yes,
So
exactly.
all the architecture has to adapt to its surroundings. And so this, again, was a house that was quite anonymous from the outside and Mediterranean, and then big surprise inside of a very, very colorful
Yeah, I think we're going to
house.
see that in the next slide.
But
Oh, no.
this is the side view of the same house. Again, playing always with portico, loggias. It's very
Expanding
important
out.
on the outside. Yeah. Oh, this is a secret garden. So it's love the idea of secret gardens, a window into the nature.
Window,
Again,
I love
as a cushion between yourself and nature.
Mm-hmm.
This is out of a bedroom. And it's a device, the two wings, to make the two wings the same length. The program was longer on one side than the other, so that what can we invent to come to flush with
to
the
give
other
that
wing?
symmetry to those
And we
two,
did it with a secret garden.
It's beautiful. So here's some exuberance inside.
Yes.
And you work with a lot of top designers.
Right.
In this situation is Stephen Gambrell.
That's
and,
right.
The woman that owns this house, Kieran Isabella, is doing the Poppy Caravan pop-up here in town.
That's
and she owns Kieran Isabella, and she's a fashion icon and loves color, and she got it, you know.
She really did. That's exactly.
I love how just exuberant it is, and as you
what she
say, it's a
wanted.
wonderful surprise, you know, when you come
That's right.
inside.
Yeah.
Next. Okay, so this is the Henry Ford II estate, which is now owned by your clients, but this is it before. Now you're going to tell us about this Philip Johnson addition.
Right. This was on the ocean in Southampton, and it's called a stick style. But prior to shingle style, there was a stick style, and there are only like 3 houses left in Southampton
Really?
that are stick style.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is kind of more elaborate. You see the corners, heavier cornices, and then here's where Charlotte Ford grew up as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So the father, Henry Ford II, who loved Philip Johnson, he said, "Can you add? I need an addition," and that's what he added. And then the wife liked romantic little shutters, so she had yellow shutters with heart shape in them.
Little hearts.
So-
He's got his Philip Johnson box. She's got little hearts in the shutters. Why not?
So our client bought it, and it was like a dilapidated place falling down. So we convinced the village, look, let's make it into an wonderful old Southampton house, and we have to take the Philip Johnson out.
Which took
because-
some guts. Not everybody tears down a Philip Johnson addition, right? But it wasn't very functional. It leaked.
Yes, and it was, I don't know, it was not that appropriate, I thought.
Right. So I think in the next slide we see the amazing transformation.
Yeah.
Gone are the heart shutters, however, I noticed.
And this is actually, so with the porch, we added a porch in the back, a porch in the front. We really made it into a very livable house. And the anecdote about the pool is that when Henry Ford went to ask for permit for the pool, they didn't realize that the village made a mistake, and this pool is built in the dune, like you're basically on the beach, and it's the only pool apparently in the entire eastern seaboard that it's totally legal. It's like
you could never get
in
away
the
with that.
dune,
Yeah,
and then
literally.
and then the village realized that, and it was too late. They already granted the
It's
permit; they couldn't
grandfathered
take
in,
it back. So this is they are the beneficiary now of the mistake of the village. So this is what we did with the house, and which we basically gutted it, and we actually moved it with a crane, made a proper basement, and put it back, and then added to it. So it's
And you've retained that stick style in that.
very
original.
much so, and the village was very happy about that. This is
Wonderful outdoor spaces. Look at that. You're
with
just
a
like
fireplace.
floating over the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
So pretty. So these are the interiors. This house was worked on, I believe I recall, with Anushka Hempel, and then later on Frank
Yeah.
DiBiase.
That's right. And retaining the idea of nature. You see the wainscoting is like actually ferns that are painted on the wall. And
It's all painted. It's not like a chalk or
no, it's paint.
painted.
It's paint. And And it's a lovely, the heart of the house is the middle. It's a 3-story high space.
Oh, I love that.
There's the living room overlooking the porch, overlooking the ocean.
Great.
Again, we try to respect, be good proportions. This is the
What is that, foosball? What's the little table in there?
Well, it's the caretaker
Like
house, which instead of a garage, we transformed it into a playroom for the children.
Nice.
So Isabella gets a garage that is a dining room, and here they get a garage that
They
is a
get
playroom.
ping pong and foosball.
That's right.
I love the colors too. Those colors we could get approved in Nantucket, I think.
I'm not sure. Oh, and here we designed the pavilion so that the deer wouldn't come to eat the vegetables. So instead of
Clever.
fencing out the whole thing, we decided we did pods for
Very clever.
little pods of teak to protect the produce.
So now we're on Fifth Avenue, and this apartment is owned by the granddaughter-in-law of Henri Matisse. Is that correct? I have that right?
That's right.
And these are obviously beautiful relocating. But what are we looking at on the wall, and what have you done with the walls?
Well, just a snippet of some urban projects. Here we did a wall in white gold leaf rather than yellow gold leaf because it's kind of nicer. And then it plays with the bronze of the Lalandes and the Matisse charcoal and the 1950 Italian sconces, and creating a motif like that when you first enter.
Quite a tableau.
And the floor is end grain, like butcher block, end grain wood.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's very, very
beautiful.
Resistant.
Oh, so now we've gone down to Irving Place, right?
Yeah, now we're Gramercy Park. A triplex.
Nothing like the gesture of a big stair like that.
A triplex we just did.
The grand forest.
With a skylight. So natural light pours into the stair in the triplex. And the lanterns are suspended by a cable. So they think that you don't even see how they're suspended. So they come down from the sky.
Beautiful. Oh, what a bathroom.
This is a bathroom in the same project.
Very pretty.
We love steel doors, steel and glass doors, and we use them often.
And this is the kitchen.
This is this kitchen, and it's so we did a herringbone pattern in wood, and we wanted to do it in glazed terracotta, the same pattern.
So that's terracotta.
So this is
stone.
glazed terracotta, imitating the wood parquet.
Yeah.
That comes right into the room, so it's seamless, but except it changes material. And it was done in Sorrento by hand, in the kiln, and they did a wonderful job.
It's beautiful. And this is the living
Same
room.
apartment, living room, paneled walls, all white. The decorator from Los Angeles.
Windsor Smith.
Yeah.
So now we are at the Heinz Cultural Center at the Carnegie
Architectural Center,
which you did, you said originally 25 years ago.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh, in the Carnegie Museum. For Mrs. Heinz, we did an architectural center, and inspired by the Sohn Museum. So this is like stucco.
I love that ochre
walls.
color too. That's sort of Italian.
The ochre, and dark cork floors. So the acoustic, again, very silent place when you walk around.
And it feels quite residential. It doesn't have an institutional feel to it at all. It feels very...
That's what she was looking for. That's right, very much. And the copper dormers, the Cooper Hewitt was throwing them away. So we took them again. We took their dormers, we restored them, and reused them here.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yes. Well, he came from Pittsburgh after all.
Talk about repurposing.
That's right. And that's just a detail of.
I love the colors. I would never think. It's so unexpected.
Yeah, and
it's beautiful.
And the linen panel, linen and wenge, dark wenge wood, linen panel to hang things on. The stucco lustro yellow and the blue paint, and the dark cork on the floor.
Just beautiful.
This is one of the bridges up above, leading into a studiolo, to a double-height library space. So we designed the railing. Nothing was here.
Beautiful.
This is
look at that.
the library. We designed the table with leather, green leather, red stucco, copper, little circles. And this is a study library for architecture. So it's a big collection of architectural drawings and scale models that you see in the shelves above. And this is the study room.
Okay. Here you are in Rome.
Yeah, this
Tell
is the
us a little
apartment.
bit. This is going to appear in T Magazine in September, which, that's quite a coup. But anyway, here Pietro is at home in Rome. I love what you've done with this sofa. It's quite sexy. Tell us about it.
So the screens are from Balla. Balla was a futurist. And so I got inspired by bought these screens, and then that inspired the whole apartment. So I had it all painted with that kind of motif, but toned down. Otherwise, you would go crazy. Toned down, more like the facades that you see around Rome. And then the couch was in the Museum of Modern Art in Rome, and I fell in love with it. Got a custom-made green leather couch that moves in all the different ways. So you can sit several people on the same couch in different angles.
And do they go up and down?
It goes up and down. Yeah. And then something with an affectation. Each time I go to Rome, I go to the store that sells the fabric or the socks to the Vatican.
Oh yeah,
so,
you and your. I tried to buy you socks yesterday.
Yeah, well, still didn't manage. But so I buy the silk that is for the clergy. I mean, this is the most elegant store. Was from 1840. It serves every pope.
Oh,
and
you're
it's
kidding.
behind the Pantheon. It's called Gammarelli, right behind the Pantheon. Gammarelli. They sell the red sock, the purple sock. But then I buy the silk that would have been for the clergy.
Sure.
And I have a custom-made jacket each time of a different color because there's too much fun.
We have a beautiful wardrobe. And the one thing about Pietro is you should, like, whenever, I'll be meeting him for dinner or something, we have a lot of fun together, and I'll say, dinner's at 8, and he's like, what? But I'm going to stop into the museum on the way because he'll have like all of 12 minutes to kill, but he'll make that 12 minutes will be spent at the Met on his way to dinner at Antonucci. He is the most curious person out there, and I think your curiosity and your humor and your joy and your zest it really comes through in your architecture, and it's really been a treat to get to take a little deeper dive into it. And I thank you for doing this today, and I thank Isabella, and I'm so sorry to be the stand-in. I wish she was here, but I've enjoyed it all the same, and I thank all of you for coming as well. And one other thing I'll add, I think if anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer them. And then Pietro is available to sign his book if you have time to stay for that as well. So I'll ask, yes, do you have a question? Yes.
Pietro, if you're working on a project that's a historic property, how do you, or have you ever had to rein in a client from stripping away too much of the historic fabric? That's something we grapple with here. As you say, the exteriors of the homes are protected, but the interiors are not. And many of them end up getting gutted and we can't replace them. So have you ever had to do that, or how do you do that?
No, I'm trying. I think, yeah, you have to install. That did happen. And for instance, the barn that you saw in Chatsford, they wanted to build a new house and not redo. I said, no. It's much more interesting if you redo the barn and reuse it. It happens to me more in the sense of trying to reuse something that they would have not used or they would have not done. And now I find myself, I got a new project, which is for a client in Los Angeles, a church in Venice, an old church, to make it into a pied-à-terre. And there, everything is landmarked, outside and inside. So this is the real test. You have to ask permission for every little thing. So
God's watching.
Plus God is watching. But it's a wonderful project, and we're just starting it. And that maybe answers your question. I mean, you have great respect, but then you'll have to make a modern bathroom, a modern kitchen. And the challenge will be, how do you retain the beauty of this church and make those new pieces? But these clients are very sensitive. That's why they want a church in Venice. So that will be an easy job.
Great. Such a good question. Yes.
Your use of wood, which is gorgeous, and of course we have a lot of wood around here, interior. And I'm wondering, you had one picture where there was a mirror that was in a wood staircase.
Yes.
You spoke about how that worked well with the wood, and I wish you'd say a little bit more about that,
Yeah,
especially old wood.
Old wood and an old mirror. It's not a modern mirror. It's old-fashioned mirror in module, in square module, sometimes stenciled a little bit with something. So it has a patina and an age to it. And in that situation, to make the room seem larger, the old wood with the old mirror, they play together very, very well. And therefore we did the whole wall in old mirror.
Yeah.
I'm very inspired by all of your creative use of materials. And I have a question about some of the plaster finishes that you've used in your projects. So the one that had the interior of the pool, you said was a cement wall. And then in other areas where you're using plaster finish, are you using something that's a Venetian plaster? Can you use that same plaster finish, but just keep it untreated?
Untreated?
Untreated.
Well, the stucco veneziano is one thing, and then there's marmorino, which is not shiny. So if you want a beautiful stucco that is matte, you would use a technique called marmorino, which is more of a Roman technique. And then in Venice, they invented the stucco veneziano because it was, as you know, much cheaper than doing real marble. But they came up with doing it with a hot iron, with the wax and all that you arrived to that. What was very popular some time ago was the stucco lustro. But I think the marmorino is more forgiving and less present. So you still have a beautiful stucco wall, but not as flashy as you would with the stucco lustro.
Is that like a lime finish?
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Do you have a dream project that you haven't done yet?
A bigger church, a church from zero instead of inheriting one that exists already in Venice. I would love to do that. Yeah.
I have another question too. Beautiful work and so inspiring. It's so interesting around here with Nantucket because you pointed out that our facades are so simple and Quaker, and yet there's this opportunity inside. And yes, some people are stripping away too much, but there's so much creativity and color that then happens inside. But my question is about that bathroom that you did where you had the column, the water column that you put at a 45-degree angle. What was on the other side of the column, and how else did you arrange that bathroom? You said it was more efficient the way you did it.
So basically the room was a rectangular room or squarish room. And Isabella said, let's do the bathroom here, but because we're on a budget, let's be economical. So I said, okay, let's put the plumbing all in one place in the middle. And by rotating it, just like the pool, you obtain more room to use around. And then each fixture radiates out of the column. Each of the 4 fixtures are radiating out. And then, therefore, you just, almost like a car wash, you move around the station where you get washed. And then there was a wood floor, and she had a little kitchen down below. The main kitchen was in the other structure. So you had soapy water dripping in the pot below in your stove. So what can we do? That's why I'm saying, let's put a copper, like you do a copper roof with solder, let's do that on the floor. Which turned out beautiful, like a leather. It looks like leather. And so it was a very strange use of roofing, but it worked. And then it was totally waterproof. And it's a fun bathroom because you have to keep walking around to use it.
I love that.
The sink, WC, bidet, and tub. No, shower is part of the tub in that case. Yeah, with the shower, it would have been hard to do that column if you needed a shower. Yeah.
Well, my question was, I didn't know where your chicken coop was, the one that was so elaborate with the trees. I didn't know where
Where it is,
where it is.
or where it was inspired by.
No, where is it? I didn't know if is it in the U.S. I didn't.
Yeah. It's in East Hampton.
Oh, it's in East Hampton.
Yeah.
Laura, the first project
And-
we saw, Woody House, it's part of that property now.
Yeah, and the other one that I saw was in Connecticut, and then it's just the comparison is wonderful.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you.